הלכות אבלות זה דבר שלמדנו בשבועות שלמות. It's a long topic. אני עושה את הוידאו הזה על רק חלק מהנושא ונמשיך את זה בוידאו הבא. When we first started learning about Hilchot Avilut, we discussed how Rabbi Abner Weiss wrote a very important article about comparing the way non-Jews, and this is not a criticism of non-Jews, about how secular people in general deal with death as opposed to the way Judaism deals with death. Grief, the emotion that overwhelms someone when death comes in a family, is very difficult, very powerful, complex, and there are so many frustrations. There's remorse, you feel regret, you feel like you missed out on something, and obviously there's a deep sense of losing that person. Person's sometimes angry, they're frustrated, and there are different ways to overcome those very, very extreme feelings. Many in the secular world, and again, this is a normal reaction that people do. It's not a healthy reaction, though. Many in the secular world react by avoiding death, react by pretending it didn't happen. Going on with life. Many people go to work the next day and pretend like there was no loss. Some people take sedatives, they take pills to make them not feel the pain so much. Some people use cosmetics on the dead person so that they don't look dead, and they have an open casket. Again, we're not talking about a Jewish reaction, but we are talking about a reaction that's out there. They avoid burial, that's internment. They don't have to go, they don't want to see it. But our rabbis, when they put together the halachot of Avilut, took something else into consideration. Most of Hilchot Avilut is dirabanan, is not from the Torah. There's a little bit from the Torah, we'll get to that a little later. The psychological toll that is claimed by refusing to directly confront death is a very heavy toll. It won't be now, I won't feel it now. But in the long run, it's very bad for me. If I ignore what's happening, if I try to get over something, and I'm just using that term because people use it, then I'm avoiding something, and I'm not dealing with the real impact of the terrible tragedy that has happened. In Judaism, we try to get through things and not get over things. I'm not saying that if someone uses the term get over it, that there's something wrong with that. I'm just using those terms to explain what we're trying to achieve in Judaism, to deal and confront the death head on. And therefore, the greatest loss that a person can have, he doesn't avoid it, he doesn't go to work, he doesn't even do any mitzvot initially. He is overwhelmed, and he has a right to be overwhelmed, and the halacha recognizes that he can't deal with regular life. So we remove him from regular life for a certain period of time. From regular Judaism, he's patur from mitzvot at the beginning, and he has to actually be involved in burying the body. Many of the Avilim actually take a shovel of dirt and put it on top of the casket so that they really realize the person is gone. We rip our clothing as a type of reaction that this world, my clothing, that's not what's important. Our skin is not what's important, although we're not going to rip the skin, chas v'shalom. But nothing physical is important. The spirit is important. And eventually we come to terms with the fact that the person himself is not here anymore physically, but they are here spiritually. There are different stages of mourning that we're learning about. Aninut is the original stage where you're patur from mitzvot aseh. You don't say berachot. You don't do any mitzvot except on Shabbat. And until the internment, until the burial happens, you are patur not you, chas v'shalom, the person who is one of the 7 relatives is patur, is exempt from all mitzvot. Followed after internment, after burial, they have shiva, which is a full week. We learned it's not actually a full week, but it's partially 7 days, in which they don't go out of the house, and they only have people come to them and talk to them, and they have a lot of things they're not allowed to do. Shloshim, there are less things that you're not allowed to do, but you're allowed to leave the house and go to work. And Yud Bet Chodesh, only for a parent, is special kavod, special respect for the parent, that you have for 12 months a certain level of avilut, of mourning as well. And then every year you have the artzeit, the anniversary of the death. 5 stages of avilut. The next part, we learned specifically about halachot that have to do with aninut, and what exactly is aninut. This is supposed to turn pages, and it's not. Okay. Rabbi Soloveitchik, in explaining aninut, explained that when a person deals with death, the first thing is he feels that his own humanity is questioned. He feels very beaten and despaired. He feels like life is meaningless. And in a state of mind where life is meaningless, he cannot perform mitzvot. And therefore, Chachamim say, you don't have to perform mitzvot. That's only mitzvot aseh. You cannot do mitzvot lo taseh. You can't eat not kosher, but you don't do any brachot, and you don't do any mitzvot like that. However, the minute that burial happens, you are chayav. Now, there are 2 reasons given for aninut, for why you're patur from mitzvot. Some say the reason is because he has a job to do. He's osek b'mitzvah. He's got a job to do to take care of the dead person and bury him, etc. And therefore he's patur from other mitzvot. You learned that in the Gemara, osek b'mitzvah, patur mina mitzvot. If that were the reason, then if you wanted to do brachot and you wanted to do mitzvot, you could, but you don't have to. Some say that it's a kind of disrespect. The person's not here, and you're just going to go do mitzvot. Aren't you distraught over it? It's sort of like what Rabbi Soloveitchik said before, and therefore you're actually not allowed to do mitzvot. And that's how we are posek. You're not allowed to do mitzvot. The halacha goes out of its way to guide us and teach us what we need to do. There are 7 avilim: Abba, Ima, Ach, Achot, Baal or Isha, Ben or Bat. And avilut, on the most part, is d'Rabbanan, although some say the first day of avilut is min HaTorah. What happens during aninut? So the minute the person dies, their 7 relatives are onenim, and they're patur from all mitzvot aseh, even mitzvot d'Rabbanan. They're patur from all mitzvot aseh, even mitzvot from the Torah, I should say. They don't make any brachot. They don't put on tefillin. They don't say Kriyat Shema. They don't light Hanukkah candles. Even if he wants to, he's not allowed to. In addition, we're going to say 4 things he's not allowed to do. He's not allowed to eat basar or yayin. That's considered something that's happiness. And only during the aninut time, he doesn't eat basar or drink wine. He's not allowed to do any work, just like in Shiva. He's not allowed to shave or get a haircut, just like in Shiva. He's not allowed to bathe or put any oils on his skin unless his skin is in pain. We'll talk about that later. Aninut does not apply on Shabbat or Yom Tov. You still have to keep the regular mitzvot of Shabbat. Even if someone didn't bury his relative yet, he still has to keep all the mitzvot of Shabbat and all the mitzvot of Yom Tov. Goes to shul, he eats wine, he drinks wine, he eats basar. He has a regular Shabbat, a regular Yom Tov. If someone dies, chas v'shalom, on Shabbat, on Motzei Shabbat, they don't say Havdalah, because that's a mitzvah and it's a beracha. Once they do the burial, then he has to say Havdalah, because he has to hear Havdalah after Shabbat. He would say Birchot HaShachar, because he didn't say them in the morning, once they did the burial. We said this already. after the kivura, all the dinim of aninut, the person is chayav in mitzvot. If you take the person to Eretz Yisrael, then when the kivura happens, the shiva starts. However, if people are taking him to Eretz Yisrael, then they haven't buried him yet, and therefore they wait till after the burial. But those people who stayed behind, that shelo nosim la'aretz, they can begin the avilut right away, even though the other people are not beginning right away. Once they turn away from the aron, either if they don't go to the airport, which many people do, but if they don't go to the airport and they go home, that's when Shiva starts. If they go to the airport and see the aron, the coffin off, then they would start avilut from then.